Welcome to this explainer. For decades, traditional science has attempted to locate the precise physical origin of our thoughts within the biological structures of the human brain. Today, we are going to step beyond biology. We'll explore the boundaries of the mind and venture into the profound realm of theoretical physics to ask a fundamental question. What is consciousness truly? Let's begin with a foundational hypothesis. What if human consciousness is a massless particle, much like a photon? By shifting our perspective away from physical matter, we open up the mathematical possibility that consciousness operates as a pure energy pattern, one that's capable of transcending our standard physical limitations of space and time. To approach these concepts systematically, we will cover 6 key areas today. First, the photon theory of consciousness, followed by quantum effects beyond spacetime and the block universe model. Then, we'll examine observers changing the future, the phenomena of kaname ishi and goshinboku, and finally, inheritance to the next generation. Starting with Section 1, the photon theory of consciousness and rethinking the mind. To fully grasp this framework, we first need to contrast the standard biological perspective with the quantum perspective of how thoughts are generated. Right now, there are 2 primary scientific paradigms at play. On one side, standard brain science defines consciousness as a strict function of physical neuronal networks and electrical signals. Essentially, it's viewed as an output tied directly to physical mass. Conversely, we have quantum brain theory, specifically the Penrose-Hameroff-Orr theory. This model suggests consciousness actually originates from highly specific quantum states within cellular structures called microtubules. In this framework, consciousness behaves like massless information, functioning entirely independently of classical electrical constraints. Moving to Section 2, quantum effects beyond spacetime, and the shared dream. If consciousness does indeed operate as massless quantum information, it's crucial that we objectively examine phenomena where it appears to defy local, physical boundaries. You may be familiar with quantum entanglement. It is a physical phenomenon where particles remain connected, meaning the state of one instantly influences the other, regardless of spatial distance. Einstein famously referred to this as spooky action at a distance. Now consider documented cases like a mother and child sharing an identical dream state across vast geographical distances. When detached from external physical stimuli during sleep, it's theoretically possible that a pure state of consciousness aligns with the very mechanics of quantum non-locality. This brings us to Section 3, the block universe and time. Having analyzed the boundaries of space, we now need to introduce theoretical physics models that fundamentally challenge our linear perception of time. The block universe theory is a framework derived directly from the principles of relativity. It postulates a reality where the past, the present, and the future exist simultaneously within a static 4-dimensional structure. Understanding this establishes the crucial groundwork for how a massless consciousness might theoretically access different temporal coordinates without the need for physical time travel. We can visualize this complex structure a bit like a cosmic loaf of bread. 13.8 billion years ago is simply the first slice. Yesterday is the past slice. Today is our present slice, and tomorrow is the future slice. In this model, they all exist concurrently. While our physical bodies are restricted to experiencing just one specific slice at a time, a massless consciousness could act as a scanner, theoretically capable of observing all of these pre-existing slices of time. Let's transition into Section 4, observers changing the future, and the concept of active quantum selection. Here we move from passive observation into the proactive role of the mind, exploring how conscious observation calculates and manipulates future probabilities. We can anchor this discussion with a profound insight from Albert Einstein. He stated, "The distinction between past, present, and future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion." Now, while Einstein viewed the timeline as a static map, modern quantum mechanics asks us to evaluate something deeper. Is consciousness truly just a passive observer of this illusion? The theoretical evidence suggests that consciousness acts as an active factor. It adjusts micro-level atomic movements to collapse probability waves into a single, chosen reality. Organic consciousness doesn't just watch a predetermined timeline play out, it utilizes a kind of quantum butterfly effect. Through observation and deliberate intention, a massless consciousness calculates variables and actively selects our physical reality from an infinite array of quantum probabilities. Which leads us to Section 5, Kaname Ishi and Goshinboku, anchoring the void. Having established organic life forms as vessels for consciousness, we can now use panpsychism and integrated information theory to explore how consciousness interacts with inorganic matter. Integrated Information Theory, or IIT, suggests that consciousness correlates directly with the complexity and density of integrated information. Crucially, this metric can be applied to inorganic matter as well. This implies that consciousness isn't dictated purely by biology, but rather by information density and purposeful intention. This framework expands the potential hosts of consciousness to specific, non-living objects. Let's objectively evaluate these different vessels. Organic life forms are built for moving, experiencing, and changing the future. Their high mobility is necessary to predict and alter physical reality. Conversely, sacred stones and trees, specifically Kanami Ishi and Goshinboku, serve an entirely different function. They exist to guard, stabilize, and store memory. Through their extreme physical stability, consciousness can utilize them as deliberate anchors, stabilizing specific spatial and temporal coordinates over thousands of years. Finally, Section 6, Inheritance to the Next Generation and Transferring the Quantum State. We'll conclude our analytical journey today by examining how this conscious intent is ultimately recorded, preserved, and passed down. Consider how tactile contact with profound art, such as Auguste Rodin's The Gates of Hell, enables a direct synchronization with dense quantum information. When an observer touches an intensely focused, masterfully created object, they aren't merely registering the physical texture of bronze. They are executing a direct, nonverbal download of dense quantum thoughts and human emotions, perfectly preserved by the creator from an entirely different temporal coordinate. To ensure this flow of data continues, we must establish a systematic protocol. First, we need to provide pathways to profound art and untouched nature. Second, we must encourage observation with honest, unfiltered senses, preventing cynical or artificial noise from disrupting the quantum signal. And finally, we must transfer this deep knowledge to expand the biological vessel. By widening this receptive capacity, we ensure the next generation develops a high-resolution consciousness, fully capable of navigating the block universe. We arrive at our final provocation. If your consciousness truly transcends space and time, how are your everyday choices actively rewriting the quantum state of the future? We are not merely passive variables in a predetermined simulation. We possess the architecture to shift probability itself. It is certainly worth evaluating your own scientific and philosophical responsibility in shaping reality. Thank you for joining this explainer.